Hey, alright, I got my foot up on the gas. It's the Joe Q Car Show podcast. Let's go.
Welcome to the Joe Q Car Show. I'm Joe, and I'm here with the magnanimous, I'm saying that with the question, Freddy Hernandez. Obviously, you've heard of this gentleman. Huge on YouTube. Has a Lamborghini, Bentley guy, Pimp My Ride guy, but also, Freddie, tell me a little bit about you right now. What's going on?
Hello. So I don't know if magnanimous is the word you want to use, but maybe, serendipitous. Like it's just kind of happenstance that I got to where I am. So yeah, I mean, I have a YouTube channel and I work on cars that need some work. They're usually of the exotic and luxury variety. And I love cars like that. I love depreciated cars. I love cars that need some love, some, mechanical fixing, some body work. And then I kind of make them my own. And sometimes I sell them. Usually I don't. I just kind of keep them for my collection. Like Tyler Hoover calls it his hoopty fleet. I have, I don't know what I call my collection, but it's something where like an island of misfit cars,
It's a good analogy. So I've been watching your videos. I've always watched them, but preparing for you to be on the show here, I looked back at your channel and you have one video that is 14 years old, which is nearly as old as YouTube. And it is of a Maxima. It is of a Maxima that is having a hard start issue. And yes. I was wondering, I'm like, now, does he leave this on his channel because he just always wants to be reminded of where he came from? Or did he just accidentally put it there and it has like 100,000 views and you're like, no big deal. It's just like a flex thing. Like I get 100,000 views on a cold start or a hard start video. Like what tell me the story about this Nissan.
Does it actually have 100,000 views? It can't.
It might.
First of all, I didn't even know that this video was still up there. I mean, don't be confused by the Lambos that I got. I am still Freddy from the block. So let me take a look at Tavares Maxima. It's probably there we go. Holy crap, 96,000 views. Would you take a look at that? 14 years ago, it's 26 seconds long. I don't think this is monetized.
I had to laugh at that, and I found it actually very. It was something to be like, wow, like you've been doing this for 14 years, maybe 15, right? Like making car YouTube videos. Is that true?
So not. I mean, that was when I just had the channel as a like. I would put videos up there where a car, like if a car wouldn't start, like this is my car. This is my only car. This is my first car. And I was having a hard time starting. And I think I fixed it with, it was a grounding issue. And I had to basically sand down the mating surfaces of the transmission and engine. And it gave the crank position sensor a better ground. I'm getting a little technical, but that was one of the biggest challenges of, when I had that car. And honestly, I didn't start YouTube full time until about 3-ish years ago, like 3.5-ish years ago. I was off and on. I wrote for Jalopnik. I wrote for some other, places as a freelancer. And then what I ended up doing is I saw that, people like Doug DeMuro had a YouTube channel and they were doing pretty well. I mean, the numbers weren't anywhere as near what they are now, but I figured, hey, if they could do it, I could do it. So I just started doing it and, all the videos sucked. I still think all my videos suck. It's like, you spend a lot of time on a video and it releases and you're like, I hope a lot of people watch it. I spent, it was a lot of hard work for me. And then 6 months down the line, you look at that same video and you're like, I hope no one watched that video. I hope no one saw it because, I'm so embarrassed because, now I'm onto this other thing.
Right. It's kind of the creator's curse, right? Like you get better and then you look back and you're like, oh my God, that was horrid quality. What was I thinking? This is something though that, you took this video from a long time ago was that your first car? Was this Maxima?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it
like,
was my first car. It's a 98 Nissan Maxima. That's right.
so do you still have it?
No, no. So I had to get rid of it back in the day when I still lived with my parents, and I had like a bunch of cars, and you know my parents there's a 1-car garage and only so much driveway space. I ended up taking up the entire driveway of the neighbor's yard because the neighbor had I believe the neighbor died, and then the house just wasn't sold, but he had this really long driveway. So what I would do is I would buy cars and I would just park them there to look like somebody, you know, like somebody lived there. So
It's like you're
squatters
helping
wouldn't.
out.
Yeah, yeah, I was helping out, and I was, you know, I was courteous. If anyone came to look at the house or whatever, I would say, "Hey, do you want me to move them or whatever?" That's fine. So it wasn't like anything like I was encroaching on anybody. I was just kind of, you know, doing my part to save the neighborhood. But yeah, it was it's weird. Like that was I wish I still had that car because you know it's just sort of a nostalgia thing, and also because there were a lot of corners cut. Like I cut my teeth on that. So, you know, I'd love to do a build that is reminiscent of that, like maybe just get a 98 white Nissan Maxima and do all the stuff that I did and kind of make it like it was, or make it better. I'd probably make it better because it's 2020 now and, you know, not 2006.
A Resto Mod Maxima.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, with your charisma and your editing style, I would watch the video for sure. That's actually something that's really endearing when I watch your videos. Is you have this just unbelievable energy, and I identify with that. I really love it, and it makes me so excited when one of your videos pop up in my feed. I'm just like, oh man, another Freddy video. Or another Tavarish video. Where does the energy come from? Where does the passion for vehicles come from?
I was always a car guy. I loved cars for a very long time. I mean, if you look behind me, you can see that it's just full of cars, Legos, and whatnot. You know, that's what I did when I was a kid. I just played with Legos, and I still do. I just ordered that new Lamborghini set, and that's back ordered, so it's probably going to get here in like a month and a half or something. But I was always interested in cars, planes, you know, the engineering behind them, just anything that included internal combustion, and just like I geeked out on that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't anything, you know. I don't know as far as the energy that you're saying. I don't know, man. Like it's YouTube. I've learned that you know, I watched some of my old videos like years ago, and I learned that you need to have more energy than you would in real life. Like where, you know, in a regular video on my channel, say 3-4 years ago, I would be like, you know, how's it going, guys? My name is Tavares, and today we're going to be, you know, like just like you're talking normally. But now it's like, how's it going, guys? My name is Tavares. You know, that you have to give it like 25 or 30% more than you would usually, because then people go, oh, okay, I guess this guy really is interested in what he's talking about. Or, you know, it's just that kind of energy that is infectious, and people really like it. So, I mean, what's interesting is when you're really tired, you know, or you've had a bad day, or you're like, it's your 30th take and you can't even say your own name, that sort of thing, where it's like, I can tell when YouTubers are tired by looking at their eyes, even though they're so, you know, like passionate about what they're saying. You just look at their eyes and there's bags under their eyes, like, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, you know.
So like, yeah, that's kind of your voice you have right now. What did it take to get there? You know, you're kind of talking about your early voice maybe wasn't as energetic or enthusiastic. Was there like a time that it clicked for you where you're just like, oh man, like I need to amp it up a little bit? Or, I mean, not that you're not being true to yourself. It's just like you said, you just maybe 30% more.
Yeah, well, you understand that anytime you go on screen, you have a persona, and you take on a persona, and people associate certain traits with what you do. People don't like seeing that you're bored. They can see that you're being like not downtrodden. They can see that you're getting beat up a little bit. That's fine, but as long as you hold a good attitude about it, I think, you know, people like that. They don't like that. They don't like watching somebody that's down, or like, oh, everything sucks and well, today I'm going to be changing the suspension on my car. This bolt has been kicking my butt the entire time, and it's all rusty, and it's raining outside, and I just fought with my mom. You know, like they don't care about any of that, right? But what they do want to see is like, all right, guys, well, we have this problem, and we're going to fix it. I don't know how I'm going to fix it, but we're going to try. And if I fail or I succeed, you're going to be there right along with me. So that sort of thing gets people like, okay, I'll stick around. I might stick around for this, you know?
Where did you get so, you know, you saw, like you were alluding to earlier, you were talking about Doug DeMuro and Hoovie's Garage, and you were kind of saying like, okay, these guys were doing it. You know, what sparked you to say, okay, I'm going to go hard? That was like 3 years ago, maybe. What made you go hard? What was driving you here?
Well, I knew that I could put in more time than I was doing, and I realized that people were actually making a decent living and doing stuff that they loved. Like, I loved cars, so I just decided to say, hey, I'm going to give this thing a try. I'm going to go for a little while and see what happens. And if I make money, I make money. If I don't, then, you know, I'll find something else. I mean, I started writing for different publications because, well, you know, it's like I invited myself to the table. I just started emailing and tweeting everybody that would listen. And then eventually they said, hey, you know, we'll give you a little bit of money. You should come write for us. And then, you know, then they couldn't get rid of me. And then, you know, that basically, like, especially Jalopnik was a really, really big influencing factor because, you know, they said, you know, we'll give you, you know, like a few $100 to write us, you know, some articles in a month. And that's, I mean, it's not something you can live on, but it is something where you get an education about how audiences work, about how to craft an argument, about how to craft a headline, how to craft a thumbnail, something that gets people in the door, how to deal with commenters, how to deal with 100,000 people watching your thing, and then giving you lots of comments and then interacting with those. So it's like, this is stuff that people pay a lot of money to learn. And I was getting paid to do it. So like, it should have been the reverse. Like, I should have been paying them to do it, but it just so happened that, you know, it worked out in such a way where I got that footing and then I transitioned that into YouTube.
Wow. Do you think that, so were you always such a great networker, or did that come with the Jalopnik time? Because yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting you at SEMA 2019, and I was just, you instantly were like, okay, like, I know this guy knows his stuff when it comes to business, networking, and getting out there. How, like, where did that come from? Was that something you were always good at?
No, what's interesting is that I was always a very anxious person. I was always very, you know, not like sort of a wallflower. I never wanted to talk to anybody. Like, to this day, you know, if you tell me like you have an option of calling somebody or just ordering online, like, I'll order online. I'll wait a little more, and you know, that'll be the end of it. The less human interaction, the better. But when it comes to stuff like that, I just started. You know who helped me out? It was Alex Roy, and Alex Roy was one of these people that I met him through Jalopnik. And the first thing he did when I met him, like, he was already this legend in the car world. You know, he had set the Cannonball Run record, and he was just this really crazy, eccentric dude. And he had, you know, all these, you know, rumors floating around about him. And he's like just this, you know, he's a character, you know, he's a character. And we hit it off really quickly because he said, dude, I love your stuff. Like, I read your stuff on Jalopnik. And I'm like, okay, you read my stuff. Like, you know, you've been on David Letterman. Like, you've done like some crazy stuff. And then, you know, he taught me because I think at the time I was planning on going to Adam Carolla's garage in LA to interview him for, you know, this movie that he was doing about Paul Newman, like back in the day. Mm-hmm. So Adam Carolla, like, I've been a fan of him for a long time. So I was like nervous, you know, and I'm not a person that usually gets starstruck, Well, not anymore, but I was nervous and I was like, I don't know, I need to have all my, all my ducks in a row and cross my T's and dot my I's. And then Alex was like, he's just a guy. Like he's just a guy. And then like that one phrase just like clicked with me. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess he is just a guy. And then like that helped me so much that, the interview, I still was like a little bit nervous, but like after that, it was just, whoever I meet, whether it's, somebody at SEMA, somebody like you, or somebody that is on TV, or some celebrity or whoever, I just treat them like people, and I think that resonates with a lot of people. And that's why people kind of open up a little bit more, instead of saying, oh my God, I'm a fan. And like, dude, we need to do something together. Like, like if you just say, I like your work, keep it up. And then that's it. And if they're interested, then you can continue the conversation. And if they're not, then they're not. That's fine. But I know that the opportunities come along, and you have to seize them when you can, but also know that you can make room for other opportunities in the future. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't want to ramble too much.
Well, that's why you're here. You're here to ramble about you. So like that's why I invited you on the show. But like the what you were saying about how they're just a guy. It's just another person here in the world with us. I understand that starstruck feeling. And actually I watched a portion of that Corolla interview on your channel, because as I'm doing my research for having you on here. And this is interesting because you can see the change in your approach, a major change. And I was like, man, so much respect for you, because you identify like, okay, maybe this isn't working. Well, why isn't this working? And and you tried interviews in cars and so many different permutations of what your show is now, looking to what it started as the channel. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, it's throwing spaghetti at a wall. Anytime you have any sort of new platform or new idea, you have to be able to kind of scattershot that idea to see what sticks. And that's another thing I learned at Jalopnik, is that the things that you think will be meaningful or impactful might not be meaningful or impactful with anybody else. So I remember doing a big story on, like, I took a vacation in Europe and, rented a Citroen DS3, little hot hatchback diesel, and I loved it. And I took all these pictures. I brought my DSLR and I took all these pictures, spent hours and hours editing them, wrote out this crazy, then we went here and I just made this storyline, and no one cared. Zero people, like not zero people watch, but it was like, a usual, like a good story on Jalopnik was like 50,000 views. And, a really good one would probably 100,000 or more. This got 3,000. And I'm like, okay, that sucked. That was like, up and vanished like a fart in the wind, to borrow a Shawshank reference. So it was just like, okay, so how do I was bummed for sure, because I spent a lot of time on it, but then you just realize that not everything is a winner, and not everything is a winner because you think it's a winner. So then you start honing what people want to see, whether it's thumbnails, titles, headlines, just to get them in the door. And then you keep them there with content, hopefully. And there's no right or wrong way. I mean, if you just look at YouTube, there's a ton of different ways you can do thumbnails. But usually, like, people have gotten it down to a certain style that is, you're scrolling and you go, okay, I want to click on that because that catches my eye. So it has to be eye catching. It has to be something that creates a knowledge gap. Some people call it clickbait. I tend to think clickbait is more misleading. So, it's like, oh, did my car blow up? And like, but the tire got flat or something, like that's clickbait. But if I'm saying like my engine blew and then my engine actually did blow, that's not clickbait. That actually happened. So there's a lot there, and it just happens that you have to you have to learn what works and what doesn't with experience. And every day is, just a learning experience for me.
You sound like that last sentence sounded like a sports guy, like you just won a big game.
Yeah, you got to give 110%. You just gotta get the ball into the goal, and you gotta really try. You gotta pass it to your teammates, and that's what the game's all about.
But is YouTube the game for you, or is it just a stepping stone? What is on your horizon here? What are you thinking next?
I have no idea, man. Like I just listen. 2 years ago, I just bought that Lamborghini, like the white Lamborghini, and I was scared out of my mind because I didn't know whether I could make it work. It was the most money I'd ever spent on a car. It was a big gamble, and now it seems like it's paid off. But YouTube seems like it's going well. Getting notoriety and sponsors and all of that. And hopefully it continues. I mean, whatever next after YouTube, like I'm sure that there's going to be a platform after YouTube, or whether it's going to be more of a TV based thing. I'm not sure it's like traditional TV, but just something more, like an on-demand type thing.
Yeah.
Then I don't know. Like, I think people are still going to have a need for digesting content. And then as long as that's a thing, then I'll try to fulfill that need in some respect.
So I wanted to talk about kind of the anxiety of being a content creator, right? Like, because this is something that whether you're big or small, there's a lot of anxiety that is just in the air. Are people going to like what's going out? You poured your heart and soul into the Citron piece, and it did not do what you wanted it to do. How do you deal with that?
I mean, well, first off, you have to understand that your ego, like you check your ego almost like just every time you post anything, because there are always going to be people that dislike the video. There's always going to be people that want something else. There are always going to be people that say, you didn't do the right thing, or this isn't what I wanted, or you're stupid, or you look stupid. Like there's a bunch of things that kind of bring you down to ground level, and you learn to either tune those out as best you can, because you can never tune it out. Like the people that say, oh well, I don't take comments, I don't care what they say, I don't take comments to heart. Like I don't think that's true, because there are comments that are obviously meant to troll. There are comments that are obviously just people trying to stir the pot, but then there are those comments that are like they pull at some string of insecurity that you have within yourself, and then they just unravel the entire thing. And they're like, you know what? I'm a fan of yours, but this episode, I think you could have done better. And it's like, damn it. Like, I think I could have done better too, man. So it's stuff like that is true, or you think is true. It might not even actually be true.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just like you think this is a problem, and somebody points that out, and then you just have to sort of deal with it. Like it's a daily. I'm not going to say it's a struggle. It's not a struggle. We're not this isn't coal mining. This is a pretty cushy gig, if I'm honest. But there is some of that anxiety right now with the new baby, with everything going on. I'm trying to put out content, but it's like having to film it, having to do the work on the car, having to edit it, and then put everything out. That's like, it takes so much time. And what I'm thinking, I can put 3 or 4 videos out in a week, and that goes down to like I can put out 1 video a week maybe, and then the rest of time I'm just like, I need a nap. I need some more energy, because if I go into that shop and it's 100 degrees and it's like that car's broken, and then I get a busted knuckle, and then I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. This sucks. So it's just it's highs and lows.
There are highs and lows. It is amazing how much a comment can just like sucker punch you emotionally. And I like what you're getting at. Like, obviously nobody's coal mining here, but there isn't a huge mental gymnastics that you have to do once you start putting yourself out there. And especially once you start getting large crowds, I imagine you know, you have to disregard all of the really just nonsensical ones, but those ones that kind of eat you a little bit, they definitely can affect you. Do you have like one in mind that like just stuck with you really good and you're just like, man, F that guy, or not F that guy, but like, man, why'd you got to say that kind of a thing?
Well, I mean, I get a lot for not finishing projects, and that's something that I've been actively working on. But you know, it's part of my character, and it's not necessarily a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing at all. But you know, I tend to go on to other projects. Like it's like that meme of you know have hugging your your other
Yeah.
your project that's already about to get done, and then you see some shiny piece of crap on Craigslist, and then you're like, ooh. So that's sort of how I am. Like I see something that I'm in the position that I can afford it now, and I'm like, I've never had one of those. Those look kind of cool, and it wouldn't really. You try to convince yourself that it wouldn't need that much work, and it'd be really awesome if I did this. And then it's like project creep, and then you just have layer upon layer upon layer, and then you get the thing, and it's way worse than you thought, and then you're like, okay, I just like. I made a commitment of at least 3 months on this piece of crap, and I thought it was going to take me a weekend. So I don't know what I'm doing now.
It's funny the roads you end up going down. So I did want to ask you, you have a very interesting past pre-YouTube, because you've lived in multiple countries, you speak multiple languages, and you know, finding your place in the world.
Right.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Because it must have been a little bit of a struggle, right?
I mean, I'm not sure if struggle is really the right word.
Yeah, don't let me
I
frame
was
it like
born
that. That was dumb of me to say, but please go on.
No, it wasn't. But I'm saying, you know, it's for some people it can be a struggle. Like, there was definitely hard points in the life. So I was born in Russia, essentially, well, Soviet Union back when I was born there. My father was Dominican, from the Dominican Republic, and you know, being a mixed race in pre pre-capitalism Russia was probably not great. Like there was a lot of, you know, if you want to talk about, you know, hot button topic racism, like that, there was a lot of that there. So we came to the U.S. in 1990 or 1991, something like that. Lived in the projects. My mom got, you know, some job as a bank teller. My dad cleaned toilets until he can get a job doing something else. And then, you know, eventually my dad became a business owner. My mom became director of a health organization. And, you know, it was, you know, we're not well off by any means. It was, you know, very middle class, but orders of magnitude better than what we would have had in the Soviet Union or Russia or Dominican Republic. And then, you know, just from there, I'm not going to say I didn't have a sense of belonging, but, you know, there's a lot of people that go, you know, they're from a certain part of the world and they go, oh, I'm going home. Like, I've never really had that. I've never had, like, if I I plan to go to Russia or Dominican Republic, I never say like, oh, I'm going home. Like, no, it's just like, it sort of happenstance that I was born there. You know, I'm not really part of the culture like my mom was. So I know that I have family history there, but it's not something that I necessarily, you know, have as a badge of honor. It's just, you know, it's a part of my history. So I'm not gonna forget that. But, you know, I think making your own path in life, I think that's probably the most important thing. A sense of belonging wasn't really on my high on my list for anything. So that really didn't, you know, matter. My parents were always supportive of anything I did. So,
You know, do you
especially
ever,
with this car stuff.
do you ever, I come from an immigrant family, and I always take a sense of courage from the
Mhm.
jump that my grandparents made before they came to the U.S.
Right.
Do you use that at all? Is that something that you think about?
Yeah, of course. So there's a video that when I finished my Mercy, my Lamborghini Murcielago, for it was the Fast and Furious one, the movie car, and I ended up finishing it, you know, completely restoring it, and then, you know, I got a little, you know, got a little dusty in the car when I was driving for the first time, because you just realize like this is nuts, this is insane, this should not happen. You know, we came here with literally like, you know, $400, you know, to our names. And it was, you know, to get to the point where, I'm able to do this and show a million people what I've accomplished, and then through that, inspire other people. And that's just insanity. So I do enjoy that quite a bit.
I think that the amount of hard work that goes into I mean, like you mentioned, like, oh, my parents, they were scrubbing toilets, and then, my mom became a director or thing. Like, you can cover that in one sentence. There's huge amounts of stories there, which we don't have time to get
Yeah.
into. But I just,
Sure.
the skill and the timing and everything that lined up to get to you to where you are today, obviously you're appreciative of that, and you can see that. And I think that's what makes you such an interesting character, because you're kind of a an everyman guy that's just like, I'm living the dream right now. And like,
Yeah.
I worked hard. You obviously didn't luck into it, and you're
Mhm.
the amount of cool things you get to do. Like when I watch a video that you're doing, it's cathartic for me, because it's like, man, if I would buy that Bentley that I really should have bought, kind of thing. Like, I was like, oh man, I'm glad somebody
Right.
made a video on it, for God's sake, because
Mhm.
I do not want to mess with that engine.
Yeah,
But, like,
yeah. Yeah, so I mean that's what I try to do. First of all, I really appreciate it. I'm not sure if I'm completely deserving of that, but I do appreciate the kind words. I do think that people want to live vicariously through me, whether it's successes or failures, or if I say, hey, this project is just eating me up and I can't do it anymore, it's cost too much or it's too far gone, then that happens as well. But when it's something where people feel emotionally invested in the projects that I do, or I mean the projects that any car YouTuber does that does this kind of work. They feel emotionally like it's part them. I can't wait to see what happens in the next episode when he does this thing that I want to do.
yeah. Oh yeah. And that's what makes it so sticky in your mind. And it's that two-way communication that television and traditional media can't give you, because you
Mm-hmm.
can make a comment and actually, plant an idea for someone, and then they use it, and you're like, oh wow, I'm a part of this community. He used my idea, or they used my idea.
Of
That's
course.
kind of cool. So
Yeah. It's always good to inspire people if I can. Yeah.
the now, is that something you're setting out to do, or is it just like a byproduct of you just existing?
I mean, listen, I don't know. I'm not, I don't look to be an inspirational figure to anybody, but if a byproduct of, my videos is that people go out and do something on their own that they can be proud of, then I'm all for that. It's not something that I'm like, yeah, you gotta, hashtag rise and grind or some, crap like that. But just, don't be afraid to work on your car, or take something apart that you thought was too complex, and then just learn how it works. Don't be afraid of things like that. Like, just learn as much as you can about a certain thing, and then it'll become easier, and you'll become more aware of the world as a whole.
So one more thing before we start wrapping up here, because I know you have a new kid, and I want to make sure you get back to that family life as soon as possible. If
you.
not cars, what would be the other thing in there? I mean, you talked about Legos and planes and internal combustions. So let's
Mhm.
take out all of the engines in all of the Legos away, and all the connects
Mhm.
too. What would it
Yeah.
be? What would be the thing?
I think it'd probably be guitars. I have a guitar back here. I have 4 on the wall over there. I was really, really into guitars before I got into cars. So, they had this thing on the guitar forums that would frequent every single day, and they call it GAS, and that's a gear acquisition syndrome. And it's sort of what I have for cars. It's just like, I got to buy this because that fills a need. And like, I need to get a Telecaster, and then I need to get, double humbuckers on my Les Paul. And then need to get this. Like, it's a bunch of stuff that I was really, really into, and I haven't played guitar in quite a while. I really want to again. I think if not for cars, that's sort of what I'd be really into.
I gotta say that I really do appreciate the mix on your edits. Superb. Like the music that you're throwing in there. I don't know if you're doing that or you're farming it out to an editor or what, but I mean, you
No,
obviously have
I do
final.
everything.
So like, you can tell that it is done by somebody who appreciates music or a musician. I am not one of those people, but I can appreciate it. And I actually sat there because I watched a bunch of your content before this interview, and I'm like, man, your latest stuff is cut so well. Just the direction you're going in. Anyway, I'm gushing a little bit, but that's just one of the things that if it works really well, nobody notices, but it just brings the whole level of the video up. And if it's not working, then people are like, why'd you put like this, weird guitar mix in there? That's weird. Like, people comment on it.
Yeah. I mean, you also have to try a bunch of different things, and sometimes it doesn't work. And, there's sometimes where I'm recording something and the audio is complete garbage, and you have to try to save it, and it ends up sounding weird. There's technical issues all the time. So, there was one point in my Bentley video, like my entire drive, I didn't realize that I did that entire drive, and I didn't adjust the focus. So I had to go back and forth between the GoPro and the DSLR, and hopefully don't tell anybody, because then people are going to be like, oh, I think like 2 people commented like, oh, why is it blurry? I'm like, oh, whatever. It's just how it goes. You're tired and you forget.
Maybe it's an art direction. I don't know. That's what you just tell people. I was going for something artsy.
Yeah. You just don't get it, man. It's just my style, bro.
This is art. Oh man, Freddie, it was amazing having you on. Where can the people find you?
Just go to youtube.com/Tavarish, Tavarish, or just, search Orange Lamborghini. I'm sure you'll find me.
Amazing. Great talking to you, and thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for giving us that little sliver of time. Please go back to your family now.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Joe Q Car Show. To gain access to our exclusive after show known as Reaction Time, cleverly named, I know, head over to patreon.com/JoeQCar, and you'll get to hear our behind the scenes thoughts, get some follow-up questions, get some tidbits we left out of the show as little extras. And in addition to the Reaction Time after show, you'll also receive a bunch of other benefits. You'll get behind the scenes updates, maybe some stickers, advance notice of who's coming on the show. You could even hang out with me if you're at that tier. There's a bunch of different things. Please go check them out. It's all at patreon.com/JoeQCar. Thank you so much for listening. I can talk all day. So until next time, goodbye for now.
Thank you for tuning in. Let's go. This is the Joe Q Car Show. Right now I got a full tank. So if you ready, we can hit the road. Ayy. Old school, it's the best. Mixtapes on cassettes. Keep the rims so fresh. Yeah. Electric cars, yeah, they the bomb. Racing cars, Formula One. We love it all. So if you love the episode, come back for another.